Welcome to the Astrology Talk podcast. I'm Christina Rodenbeck, and I'm here with my friend Sally Kirkman.
Hello.
We're both astrologers, obs. And Sally Kirkman has her own website, sallykirkman.com. I have my website, The Oxford Astrologer. And this is our monthly meeting of minds to talk about the astrology of the month ahead. Starting from 21st of December to the 21st of January. Now, in between, in the doldrums between Christmas and New Year, we're going to be producing a year ahead podcast as well. So don't miss that one. Meanwhile, what a month, Sally.
What a month it's been. Are we on the one that's been, or
on the one that's been, on the one that's coming?
It's all gearing up, isn't it? It's gearing up. It's cracking up to be quite a time. And as usual, I've been in that, I think, with Mars in Scorpio, I've just been focused on work. I've been working so hard to try and get some time off over Christmas, which always feels a bit bonkers, really. But anyway, that's what's been going on. So I've really been doing the Mars in Scorpio stuff.
Yeah,
full on, go for it. And just sort of looking at the world and thinking what a twilight world we're in at the moment. It's weird times, isn't it?
Well, I hope it's the twilight of the, Gotterdammerung, frankly. I hope it's the twilight of our government, and that we get some people who are actually competent to help us in these pandemic times. That's been very interesting. In this country has been over the last month has been the fact that our prime minister, who's a Gemini, who benefited a lot from the eclipses in Sagittarius and Gemini, up until now, has suddenly found himself deeply in the caca up to his neck. Perfectly expectedly, it's all predictable. But it's interesting that it happened around those eclipses,
Yeah, the final month of the eclipses, actually, isn't it? It's the end of the Gemini Sagittarius eclipses this month. And it seems to be, I think he's just lost complete credibility, really. It's not that he had a lot from,
he had so much.
The tiny bit he had has now gone because of his Christmas party malarkeying last year.
Wouldn't it be so decadent if the government fell because of a Christmas party, though?
Yeah.
So many other bad things. 70,000 people dead, is it now? Oh, but it's the Christmas party that brings him down.
Yeah. So, I mean, it will be interesting. I mean, we're talking just before the final full moon in Gemini, aren't we? Which is December 19th. We're talking just before it. So it'll be interesting to see what happens then, whether the bell tolls for Boris.
Yeah. And also, because then his premiership would have been pretty much over those eclipses.
Yeah, it would. Perfect. Fits perfectly. We'll see.
Anyway, we're now moving into the Taurus Scorpio eclipse pattern, and that's completely different from Sagittarius Gemini.
So how's your month been, Christina? Did you have any astrological snippets for us, or you just sort of?
I'm just sort of I'm trudging through, I would say. Trudge.
Yeah.
Nothing springs to mind. I wouldn't say that November was easy. Let's put it like that. My heart goes out to my fellow human beings on this planet, because I don't think anybody really found November that easy. And I'm really looking forward to next year, because actually, we're coming to the end of this very difficult year. We've all dealt with this very strange time, the pandemic, the lockdowns, the whatever, in our own ways, and sort of carried on. But there's a point when you're carrying on, when you sort of think, actually, this has been rather weird and upsetting.
Yeah.
And so I'm also looking forward to this Venus retrograde that's coming up. I know that's a thing to say, but
okay. Well, we'll be talking about that in a bit. I'm surprised, but
I like this time of year because it's in inward time.
Yes.
I love midwinter.
Yeah.
I love the solstice. It's a wonderful time of year. And actually we should talk about Capricorns a bit, shouldn't we? Because that's their sign this month.
It is. Who do we like?
Who do we like? Well, there are a lot of good astrologers who are Capricorns, actually.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, Jeffrey Cornelius being my favorite, actually.
Yeah, I think Stephen Forrest, is he a Capricorn? Ray Merriman, I think, is a Capricorn. These very kind of, very serious astrologers who are good, who are Capricorns. I think Capricorn is and my local shaman, Kathleen Matthews, is a Capricorn.
Yeah.
And I think that's quite a Capricorn thing, is that that shamanic ability, to connect the spirit with
the... I agree. It's the goatfish, isn't it, the symbol? And I think it, Capricorn is one of the star signs that the kind of myth of Capricorn is completely wrong. We all think of the sort of person in the suit with the briefcase, the workaholic type of Capricorn, which, they're good at business. They have a goal to focus on and they work towards it. So, there are going to be, and it can be a star sign that's quite conventional, actually, good in the corporate world. But I really think of Capricorns more as this shamanic type, I mean, David Bowie, he's kind of Patti Smith. I mean, these fantastic, real poetic, sort of lyrical, artistic, creative rock stars with soul, soul and spirit that comes forth in their work. So that for me is just such a big bit of Capricorn. And I think they do, we are in midwinter in the northern hemisphere, not down under, obviously, but there is something about that midwinter time that you turn inwards and you have to seek sort of solace and spirit within, don't you? I mean, that's where that's Capricorn knows all about that, actually.
Yeah, except for Jeff Bezos, who we're not so keen on, of course.
I hope we weren't going to mention him. I thought, I'm not mentioning his name.
I always mention him because I think he is the ultimate example of how Pluto going through your sign can make you extremely wealthy. I mean, this is an astrological trope that Pluto is the god of wealth and of vast wealth. And Bezos has had that Pluto going through Capricorn since 2008. And look what's happened to Amazon. I think because people get very scared about Pluto transits, and they are transformational, but the transformations are not necessarily, dark. They can be, well, from his point of view, I don't know how he's feeling about it. Maybe it's been really difficult. I'm sure it has, but it's also made him vastly powerful. Yeah.
I mean, it does shoot you to power. There's one of the younger Capricorns I really love is Timothée Chalamet, who's in all the, I saw him first a few years ago in Call Me By Your Name. Call Me By Your Name. It's something like that, which was just extraordinary. And he was 21 when he did that. And he's, I just keep seeing him in everything now. So, it really, you suddenly become a powerful figure, don't you, when you've got Pluto boosting you. But Pluto does move on from Capricorn in 2023. So maybe it will be Aquarian's time then to kind of skyrocket or get that turbo power.
This is going to, as we discussed previously, this is the Aquarian, 2 decades of Aquarius energy is really powerful. And Pluto is just coming into that. So when Pluto comes into Aquarius, it's going to hit that point of zero Aquarius, which was stimulated by the Great Conjunction. And how many winters ago? Was it only last winter? It was, wasn't it?
It was December 2020, yeah.
Yeah, December 2020. This time last year, we were getting that Great Conjunction.
Yeah.
Is, has flavors this entire 2 decades.
Yeah, and beyond, actually, because it's the mutation from Earth to air as well. So we're really tiptoeing through the start of it. It's slowly getting going. And I think we have to get Pluto into Aquarius to really see what it's going to be about more. So anyway, that was quite, Capricorns. We're talking about Capricorns, but
let's talk about the solstice. Okay.
Yes.
If that's the beginning of this season, it's one of the 4 corners of the year. It's deep midwinter. It's a wonderful time for contemplation, inwardness, etc. And actually, looking, astrologers look at the chart for these four corners of the year to tell us a little bit about the next coming months ahead, actually. And I have to say, this one's pretty good. It's pretty exciting, this chart.
Can I say thank goodness? Because we have some really crappy, scrappy astrology coming up. Well, we've got some tough challenges in the astrology. Yeah. And the fact that the solstice chart, which is a symbol of the next 3 months until the equinox, March the 20th, has Jupiter, the best planet at the top, is really, I think it's a symbol of hope. I really do. It's a symbol of hope. It's these tricky times we're moving into again in this next month. So, holding on to that. And Jupiter's there as a beacon saying next year is going to get better. As we'll be telling you in the 2022 podcast. It's lovely to have that Jupiter at the peak of the solstice chart as we move into, and a lot of people do ritual, don't they, on the winter solstice? There's a lot of different ritual. It's a lovely time to kind of light a candle and remember those who've passed as well. I think the solstice about that, or just be a Saturnalia type who let down your hair and have a great big festival and get rid of all the strains and stresses of the past year. There's lots of different ways you could celebrate the solstice.
But the real message of the solstice and of Christmas is hope at the darkest hour.
Yeah.
Or hope that has to be nourished by human beings. If you take the Christian message and you turn it into something, you think about what it really is saying. It's saying that a baby, God arrives as a child, as a baby, and has to be nurtured by humans. And that's a really quite an extraordinary thought. And you could be more abstract about it and say hope, the only thing, you have to nurture hope. And it's humans that do that. It's not waiting for some, the gods give you a gift, or the heavens give you a gift, but nothing happens with that gift unless you nurture it. And make a flight into Egypt on the back of a donkey, obviously.
Well, yes. I like that. I mean, I find Christmas quite difficult because it just becomes so commercial. It's all about sort of, I don't know, the adverts and the shops, and the commercial side of it drives me a bit bonkers, actually. But it is essence. It is about, it is about gathering with people you love. It's about gifts of kindness, so it is that. I think that's important to hold on to make it, to do whatever you need to make it meaningful, really. And it's quite a Christmas coming up, isn't it? Should we talk about what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, Christmas Day itself is pretty full on, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, we've got the square of Saturn and Uranus, which is pretty exact anyway already, which is, this very strong tension that we've had all year comes again, around this Christmas week. And I'm sorry to say, it is this pandemic again. It's the tension between personal freedom and, rules, blah, blah, blah. It's that all over again. Yeah. So, there you are. That's what that is. And it does, you got to go with it. You've got to go with it because, folks, Jupiter's going to be going into Pisces on the 29th. Things are going to be changing next year. So it's a matter of just, sticking with the program now. And then with the knowledge that we're going to be moving on, we've got hope. There is now light at the end of the tunnel. I would say finally, astrologically. Up until now, there's been so much. Jupiter in Aquarius is not not something one would associate with like wild freedom necessarily. But
no, and it's in Saturn's sign. Saturn rules, basically. Saturn dominates, authority, leadership dominates the kind of, the government type of leadership. Jupiter's leadership is very different, actually. So, you've got to get Jupiter back into Pisces, its sign of rulership, which happens on December the 29th.
And that's very good news.
Yeah.
The other thing about Christmas Day is, of course, is the Venus-Pluto conjunction. So we've got some, heavy stuff going on
Yeah.
around Christmas. And although I think the Venus-Pluto conjunction has a positive side.
Yeah, tell me about this, please, Christina. I'd like to hear all about this.
Got a shitty side too, okay? But the good side is, of course, that these planets have a lot in common. It's not just sex, money, passion, intensity. So, of course, Venus is retrograde at the moment, so she's going back. It's like they met on the 11th of December, and she went on. They had a passionate sort of embrace on the 11th of December. Now she's going back on Christmas Day to check it out again and check him out again and have another conversation or whatever with. So there's going to be, there's stuff going on around money, I imagine, for a lot of people. And stuff going on around obsession and love. Obsessive love, that's the Pluto Venus conjunction. And sometimes that's a good thing. To be obsessively in love with someone is an amazing feeling, as long as it's not going completely wrong. But we always talk about obsession as if it's all bad. But actually, it's only with obsession or passion that we can become quality and good at something. And of course, Capricorn is the sign of excellence, the sign of quality. So I would suggest, only go for the quality Christmas presents this year. None of those sort of, crappy fun ones. But it's about a real quality, the quality of love that we have. And
I think,
be really focused about it as well, because this is Pluto. So, don't spread it around. Keep that focus. Keep it focused at Christmas. Okay. So that's all the good stuff. What's the bad stuff?
Well, don't go into an abusive relationship, I would say, with Venus Pluto. Because it can be. It can, and look at the big trial at the moment is the Maxwell trial. She's a Capricorn as well, and that is, it's about abuse. It's about sexual abuse. It's bringing out these real awful secrets, isn't it? That's also what happens under Venus Pluto. I think what's interesting is that in any Venus retrograde phase, Venus, we think of the myth of Persephone, because Venus is this gorgeous, bright evening star at the moment. Oh my Lord, the planets have been fantastic. Venus, Saturn, Jupiter, the moon. But Venus she fades, she disappears, she goes into the underworld, gathers, goes into dark. It's dark in the underworld. It's the dark places. It's the secrets. She has to deal with a lot of stuff. But if you come through that, you very often emerge stronger. There's this sort of symbol of the phoenix rising from the ashes. And that's, she goes into Pluto's realm anyway. I always think in Venus retrograde, and emerges warrior woman, morning star. So to have the Venus-Pluto conjunction is really quite powerful. I had a little look on the internet who's got Venus-Pluto conjunction. And the one that immediately caught my attention was Frida Kahlo, the, fantastic artist. And that just it's in Gemini. Makes so much sense to me, because she had this tortuous relationship and very passionate and creative and artistic relationship with Diego Rivera. They got married twice, lovely for Venus Gemini, but also had lots of affairs. She was bisexual. So you can see the sort of Venus-Pluto playing out there. And I think the other thing for me with her was beauty, because she really struggled physically. She had polio as a child. She had one leg shorter than the other, which again seems like a Gemini theme. And then she was in an awful accident. So she really struggled with beauty as well, which is also Venus. Excuse me.
No, I agree. And I think that this, her art epitomizes exactly this Venus-Pluto conjunction, in that it is incredibly passionate and powerful. And she's constantly looking in the mirror, looking at herself, looking at her twin. That's the Gemini side. And she also, there's some paintings by her where there's two of her.
Yes.
Doubles herself, or portraits of her and Diego together. I think she's a wonderful example of how the pain and the ardor of Venus-Pluto conjunctions. And I think both of those are, it's like a crucible. and that's another way of thinking about going into the underworld, is you go into the crucible, you go in, and it becomes an alchemical change that takes place as Venus goes underground. And then, of course, I mean, it's interesting that you bring up Frida Kahlo, because in Aztec religion or in Mayan religion, Venus is a warrior planet. This is not the planet of love. Especially as the morning star. So actually she comes out fighting. And we shouldn't be calling her she, we should be calling her he, they, really. Because we should call all the planets they. I mean, it's like they're so, this gendering is such a problem in astrology, isn't it? Because it sends people off on this kind of wrong direction of thinking that Venus is some sort of Renaissance softie, is a Titian, actually, it may be one of those Mexican gods whose names I can't pronounce, I'm ashamed to say, as coming out as a warrior. The winged serpent, essentially, arriving. So that happens in January, when she comes back out from the underworld, and she comes out, as you say, fighting in Capricorn quality. This is a quality sign, and I think it's also a sign about getting real about certain things. So when we look at what's happening in general in the world, it may be, again, that people who have not been delivering quality have to be let go.
It's a classic, and it is about, because this is about, you need to look at your love relationships. I think you also, with this Venus Pluto, need to look at how you see yourself. Sometimes it can be harder to love yourself when Venus is next to Pluto. You really need to kind of, look at the beauty, really get the beauty within. But also I think it's about money. I think this is what's going on now. It's in Capricorn, corporate sign. We're going to have the Americas having their Pluto return next year. What happens now over this period, I think, is going to be really interesting on, to do with the economy. It could be things coming out that really challenge the world financially, actually. So I think it is about money as well.
Oh, it's always about money. I mean, but then one of the fantastic things about astrology, this amazing lens that through which we see the world, is the connections that are made between things. And there is a connection between love and money, whether we like it or not, between slavery and back to Ghislaine Maxwell. That's not love, that's sex and money. Enslavement is what they were enslaving those girls. And I think that is also a Venus Pluto thing, is who's making money off of you, who's trying to enslave you. Gosh, I've just realized that I've had an offer to do some work, which is risible, derisory. It's a derisory offer, and I've just realized that that's this Venus Pluto as well.
Value yourself highly. Now, don't let people kind of abuse you either. Be paid what you deserve. Know your self-worth as well. There's a lot of challenge around that. And I think what's interesting about this as well, it's kind of, I know normally we talk about what it means for each star sign, but actually I think the themes are so powerful that, you just take these themes into your life. You don't necessarily need to look at what area of life it is. There's going to be these kind of powerful themes going on. So you'll know which area of your life.
And I want to return to that. Sorry, I want to return to that concept of value that you brought up just now. Because I think that sums it up, really. So what is, what is your value being abused? Are you valuing yourself enough, or are you abusing someone else's value? Are you undervaluing someone else? And I think that can, it can, the balance can shift completely out of whack. I'm thinking also of someone in particular who, is in an obsessive relationship, and is that obsession about possession or about love? And I think that's the other question is with Venus Pluto is this love? Where's the moon in all this?
Yeah.
Or is this just ownership?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And I think also there's a really, because Mercury joins the party, doesn't it? Mercury communication joins the party. So at the end of December 29th, 30th, Mercury is conjunct Venus and conjunct Pluto. So it is a time to be really exploring this on a deep level. It's a bit time to having those important conversations as well. Go in deep, go to the taboo stuff, go to what's hidden. Don't dare to ask those questions that you may have been thinking, but you haven't voiced perhaps. I think Mercury's coming in to say, voice this stuff, pay attention to it, bring notice to it. So really quite powerful astrology, isn't it, going on?
Bring your intelligence to it. And I just to go back to the solstice, I've noticed that, in fact, the moon makes an opposition to the Venus-Pluto conjunction on the solstice. So all of these themes that we're talking about, they're very powerful on Christmas Day, obviously. But this is not just one day, right? It's that whole period. It's from now when we're talking, but it's the whole period. And it's strong at the solstice, it's strong on Christmas Day, and then at the end of the month, as you say, Mercury comes in, and then Mercury is going to go retrograde, of course, later, back over this stuff. So and Venus is going over this stuff too. So there's a lot to discuss. Another thing about this Venus Pluto conjunction is that it's very close to where we had that great conjunction of all the planets that kicked off this pandemic, those were all, that was Saturn, Jupiter, Pluto, all gathered together in those latter degrees of Capricorn. Was it January 2020?
It was 2 years ago, nearly.
2 years ago, when we all thought, what's going to happen? We're turning a corner into a new world. Well, Venus is now going back over that corner and having another look, and what Venus represents is love. That's on the good side. So there's a luxury, there's a laziness about Venus. There's a downside to Venus too. But both Mercury and Venus seem to be having a close look at these final degrees of Capricorn again.
Yeah, and also, when Pluto comes along, you can purge, can't you? You can purge, you can excavate, you can dig down deep to kind of get stuff out into the open. So, and I just, the fact that Venus Pluto on Christmas Day, very often we end up, we were talking about this a bit before, you have this idea of, all happy families together. And for a lot of people, Christmas is tough. You've got to go and see people you don't necessarily like or who see things differently to you. It's quite often the time when tensions rise. You've got to try and make it a happy Christmas. But the reality is it's kind of tough stuff comes up again. So I think it is a really good time of year for doing some purging.
Yeah, or exorcism. An exorcist. I agree. And I think that this Venus Pluto says to me, don't spread it around, focus on the few rather than the many life. And, this whole concept of the whole idea that everybody has these vast gatherings that they go to, etc. And then it's all, we're going to be making mince pies together.
Yeah.
Well, lucky them.
Yeah. Yeah, and I already know a few people who are choosing to spend this Christmas on their own, which is Venus Pluto themes as well, for different reasons. We don't know quite what's going to happen over Christmas in England where we are. We don't know yet what's going to happen, but there's different. It's different. It's a really different vibe. Actually, it's not a la la la. Let's all just sort of get drunk and watch too much telly. We can do that maybe when Jupiter enters Pisces, can we, on the 29th? Is that when we get drunk and watch too much telly? Binge watch. Yeah.
No, I'm still watching Breaking Bad, which is very suitable for Venus Pluto.
Okay, you carry on with that. It's quite long, isn't it? There's lots of them.
It's long. Well, and also I have to wait for my youngest daughter to catch up with me now, so I've had to pause it.
Okay.
But yeah, family viewing.
Family viewing.
So Jupiter and Neptune are both going to be in Pisces, their own sign, both the rulers of Pisces are going to be there together, which means that we're going to have a tidal wave of Pisces power, washing us into 2022.
Yeah, I mean, it's huge, isn't it? It's huge. I like Jupiter dipping into Pisces, in the middle of 2021. It was there from middle May to end of July. And I found it at a time I was watching a lot of art. There was sort of theatre, music, jazz I was going to, which hadn't been there over the lockdown. There was bottomless brunches going on in London where I was. There was a lot kind of, I don't know, it just felt like things were coming back to life. So I have this real, I suppose myself, this kind of feel-good vibe with Jupiter and Pisces. So I'm really looking forward to Jupiter and Pisces. It will also be my Jupiter return in January. So
yay, Sally, what are you going to do to celebrate that?
I don't know. Don't know at the moment. I should be on some Greek island somewhere, and it's highly unlikely. But anyway, I will be celebrating it. So yes, I shall mark it. I shall mark it. So yeah, Jupiter's, we need Jupiter, don't we? The feel-good planet. It's about growth, expansion, opportunity. So wherever you've been sowing, think back to that middle period of 2021 where you were sowing seeds. What can you pick up and, breathe some life on as we move into 2022?
I would say the positive bits of the summer, because it was tricky. August was tricky, even though Jupiter was in Pisces. So the good stuff, as you say, the seeds, it's important to look at and cast aside the nasty stuff. So Jupiter and Pisces, I mean, we're going to be talking about that a lot in our podcast about the year ahead.
Yeah, we are. It's going to be a big theme.
Yeah, that's a major shift that happens at the end of this month, and it may feel quite a relief, especially for people who have planets around those early degrees of the mutable signs. I think it's going to be really helpful, and also all the water signs, it's going to feel better coming out of that the dryness of Aquarius into the wetness of Pisces.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, it's it's emotion, it's compassion, it's wonder, it's inspiration. And my goodness, we need some of that. So it could be, I think moving towards the end of the year, this Jupiter coming back into Pisces is going to be lovely. It reaches its peak in March and April of 2022. That's when it's really, really powerful and strong. But it is picking up speed as we, leave behind 2021 and move into 2022. Do we want to have a look at what's happening in, because with this, we need to do up to the sun's move into Aquarius on the 20th. So we've got a new moon in Capricorn on the 2nd of January.
It's a pretty nice new moon, right?
It's a lovely new moon. It's at 12 Capricorn. So really good time to kind of set some intentions. I mean, it's interesting because Venus is going to be retrograde until January the 29th. And communication planet Mercury turns retrograde on the 14th of January until early February. So it is kind of, again, it's not a year to charge into things, but you could still drop a plan, on the new moon. You could kind of look ahead, look at what your goals are. I mean, lovely for Capricorn having a new moon in your star sign as the year begins, because Capricorns love that goal setting, don't they? They love to have things to work towards. And then they can take those steps towards it practically, persistently, reliably, and achieve their goal. Always the best side of Capricorn.
Yeah. I think also it's actually good for something like a soft launch, funnily enough. There's something that you're going to be fixing. You're going to be making changes to it, but why not start it now? And you can start making those changes. Don't, hang around just because there are these Venus and Mercury retrograde, because actually Jupiter is charging ahead. Yeah. So it's not like all the planets are going backwards. It's just those, it's the details that you may want to go over and look at. But the sort of main idea, it's like you launch the main idea or start the main idea, and then you go back over things and look at them again. And again, back to all that discussion that we had about value is really very important for, giving things the correct value and giving your own work the correct value is really important at that around that new moon.
Yeah, interesting, isn't it? Because we have got this Venus retrograde. Mercury actually turns retrograde in Aquarius and then goes back into Capricorn. But, the new moon is a chance to kind of look at what's been going on, maybe what's not been working out in that area of your life. So, for Aries and Leo, it's your work sectors, and set some new intentions. What's gone wrong, perhaps, on that Venus Pluto, or where you're not getting seen or getting heard, and setting new intentions around that. So,
Also, that new moon is quite interestingly, because Mercury is actually at 0 degrees of Aquarius on the new moon, which is, again, a really important degree that we keep on coming back to at the moment, because that's where the grand conjunction happened, is at 0 Aquarius. And it's like it pauses, looks at that 0 Aquarius, goes forward a few steps, comes back and has another look, because it's going to retrograde over that point again. Yeah. So again, it's like, okay, start something, but be prepared to redo it. And this could be, it's important for Aquarians, actually, that the new moon, and then you're coming up to your birthday later on. But it's also important for, let's see.
Well, for
Taurus, obviously, go on.
Who did you say? Who?
I said Taurus, obviously, it's going to be important for Taurus. This is about work.
Yeah, it's about career, it's future goals, isn't it? Yeah. So, take your time, take your time with it. It is kind of like there's some reworking to be done wherever, Mercury falls, where Aquarius is in your horoscope.
Set your goals, be prepared to change your mind, know, and because this is Mercury we're talking about, it gets some more information. Yeah. You may need to investigate more, be prepared to backtrack. And of course, that's difficult for Taurus. But it's also important for all of the air signs, for Libra and Gemini, that what that Mercury is doing. So, and it's interesting that it's crossing that boundary between Aquarius and Capricorn, which Venus doesn't go over, and Pluto's not going over, but Mercury going into Aquarius, getting some information from there and bringing it back into Capricorn. Yeah. So this would be like doing a survey, doing a survey for the rest of the month, as soon as it goes from that 0 Aquarius, and then it's crunching the numbers. Yeah, I like that a lot. So like for Sagittarius, it's your 3rd house. So really do some research, get some ideas, talk to people, find out what's going on in your community. It really is a time to kind of see what people want. For Scorpio, home and family sector. So, if you're looking for somewhere to live, Scorpio, check things out, do your research, be willing to be flexible and change your mind about it. So it's, wherever that, the Mercury in Aquarius falls, that's kind of the common theme, isn't it, for it? And the other thing I would suggest with all of this retrograde, those 2 important planets retrograde, and these are the planets of communications and also art. So it's really good for editing, for redoing your work. And even during the whole Venus retrograde, it's good to be getting out your old canvases or your old ideas and dusting them off and looking at them. And even more so when Mercury goes retrograde, and getting the stuff out and maybe looking in the archive. No, it's, that's those people who have got, want to go in deep to something. This is the perfect time to do it. It's fantastic. And it gives the whole winter, in the Northern Hemisphere, it's prolonging the Capricorn part of the fact, that Capricorn is the midwinter sign. And that's a prolonged midwinter that we have, because Venus will stay in Capricorn until March. Mercury will stay in Capricorn. I'm not sure, is that until? It only dips back in mid-February. It's out of Capricorn. Mid-February. So it's interesting that it's a prolonged midwinter, and it's a prolonged deep dive. And I think it's easier if you just decide to go with that. Fighting it. Well, I think that's something, to be honest, we're all getting used to, isn't it? We're having to learn to be adaptable, flexible, change, be patient as well. My Lord,
that's quite hard for the Mars types, Aries, Scorpio, and Mars is in Sagittarius also during this period. But yeah, you can push and fight and be assertive and try and get what you want, but you also, you have to look at the reality of life. And sometimes it means, okay, well, actually I can't head off in that direction. So I need to look at the other possibilities, the other options, and not get stuck in impossibility. And for Sagittarius, just to say, you've got Mars in your sign the whole of this period. So, I quite like that for Sagittarius. It's a really, Mars in Sagittarius is the adventurer, bold. And I would think for Sagittarius, you really do need to be lining up some big goals, some big vision for the year ahead with that. Also, with all the stuff going on in Capricorn, you've got to really look carefully at the money side of things. And look at how you're going to be able to maybe afford what you want to do. How can you raise funds or something similar for Sagittarius?
Yeah, when does Mars leave Sagittarius?
25th Jan.
Yeah, because the other really important, the other sign that really needs to think about that is Gemini, because it means you've got Mars in your opposite sign. So that can mean dealing with aggressive people or open enemies, but it can also mean, a passionate love affair. It's passion again. That's where the action is for Gemini. It's in your relationships. And in fact, it's a big time for Gemini because they've got Jupiter coming into Pisces, which is, that makes a hard angle for Gemini, and Mars in Sagittarius. So it's quite an interesting combination of energies going on. And the other people who I think that, when you've got Mars in Sagittarius, it's important when it's going across when you've got Mars anywhere, in any sign, it's important for the people who, for whom it's going across the midheaven. So again, that would be, that's Pisces. So Pisces, you've got Jupiter in your sign and Mars going across your midheaven. This is all career stuff. And, with Jupiter in your sign, you may find yourself, sometimes it's good. You get more, you get greater publicity. People notice you, you're popular. But it also makes you bigger, more visible. So there's nowhere to hide when Jupiter's in your sign. So you've got Jupiter in your sign, Mars going across the midheaven. And that does suggest sort of, you may have bosses to deal with who are unreasonable or who want you. Or you may have a lot of work to do, a lot of sort of promotion. It's, I always think Mars in the 6th is important as well. The transit of Mars through the 6th house, which would be, who would get that?
That's right? Cancer. It's for Cancer.
Yeah. So they
might be busy and full on, isn't it? It's a busy schedule when you've got Mars in your 6th house. You're kind of juggling, wearing lots of different hats. It's work, it's health, it's, lifestyle. It's looking at a lot of stuff. Wherever Mars falls, you tend to be doing things fast. I think also this, if you're looking at this combination, Jupiter's move into Pisces for Virgo, relationship sector. Mars in Sag, your home and family sector, that's where there could be sort of clashes, arguments. And then also all this stuff going on in Capricorn, in Virgo's romance sector. it's a real kind of, it could be really kind of intrigue and, maybe someone from your past gets back in touch and throws you all kind of giddy and like, oh my Lord, what am I going to do? But yeah, it does feel like it could be quite a complex time for Virgos, I think, with relationships moving forwards.
I think intense, passionate, blossoming. I think it could be amazing for Virgo, creative. That you find your, for Virgos, and this is again back to that Pluto Venus, it may be about finding your voice in whatever aspect, literally your singing voice, but finding your way of doing stuff, going back and digging around. And this is a creative voice, finding your creative voice.
Yeah, that's nice. That's a nice way of looking at it. So January is quite strange month, isn't it? With this sort of stop-start feel, actually. And a lot still kind of hidden or beneath the surface. And then a really, really powerful full moon coming up on January the 17th. which is bad. It's at 27, Cancer Capricorn. So it's it pulls in Pluto. Pluto's at 26. So the full moon on January the 17th, again, we've got Pluto, this planet of power, this planet of transformation, really powerful. And full moons often bring things to light. They bring clarity. The light of the moon is huge at the full moon, and you often know instinctively what you need to do. So this full moon on January the 17th may bring things to completion that have been going on while Venus has been retrograde in Capricorn. Yeah. Maybe a time to really, cut things off, make a decision. Although Mercury's turned retrograde by then. So it's again, it's when does the end come, or when's the sense of finality? It's almost maybe you're trying to end something, but then it drags on a little bit, or there's more discussion. And it's quite hard to find that final point. But that full moon could be really powerful, I think.
Yeah, I mean, the sun makes a conjunction to Pluto the day before, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So it is really powerful, and it is bringing stuff to light. But Venus is, hasn't gone direct. She won't go direct to the end of the month, and then she'll go back over that point. Yeah. So it's not an ending. But it may be an explosion of more information. Yeah. It's like an ongoing saga, and here's some more stuff that you need to look at, some more stuff from down under.
Yeah.
And the good thing about something like the full moon is that it's revealed in it's not necessarily a bad reveal, it's like, oh, okay, now I understand what's been going on. It'll be interesting to see what happens with, money during the next over this month, I think. I mean, we're not as financial astrologers, but there's funny stuff going on with money.
Yeah,
this whole period, especially since also the eclipses have been around the money signs.
Yeah, and I think maybe around that full moon, maybe some stuff will come to light around the full moon. I think it is a good full moon for issuing ultimatums, actually. You've got one last chance, someone says, or something similar, whether Aries, it's in career, or for Cancerians, it's about relationships. It's like, that's it, that's enough. We change this now. So it could be a time for issuing ultimatums and then waiting to see what develops, what changes after that.
And I noticed that actually Uranus turns, there's so much going on this month, isn't there? Uranus turns direct the next day.
Yeah, on the 18th.
On the 18th, and for some people, I think even that full moon's on the 18th. So yeah, I mean, which is the planet of revolution and rebellion in Taurus, and it's been retrograde for a long time, and it's going to be stationing around that 11 degrees of Taurus for most of the month, 10, 11 Taurus, which is quite an agitating feeling. If you have anything at 10 degrees Taurus, you're going to be feeling that electrical charge, and then boom, it goes direct the day after the full moon. So there may be, I would say, like an explosion of some kind of activity, especially for Taurians.
Yeah.
In fact, look at the Taurus in your life.
Yeah, I agree. It's kind of it. Well, put the full moon with Pluto and Uranus. It's like, enough is enough, isn't it? Yeah. Enough is enough. I'm gonna do this anyway, or there's that kind of, it's a real whoosh of energy around that full moon. Interesting month coming up. The more we talk about it, the more I'm like, oh my word.
I'm really fascinated by the whole thing. I mean, the kind of mythological resonances of, as we were saying, there's the Venus going underground, which is always, in Western astrology, we do always talk about Persephone and Hades or Inanna in the underworld, but there's all kinds of other mythologies around that, because Venus is the third brightest object in the sky after the sun and moon. So this was a well-known planet around the world.
Yes,
it's the one that the wandering star that really people paid attention to. So there's mythology from all over the place, and it's always considered an incredibly important time And I think it's even more important because it's happening over this midwinter deep period in this very deep sign.
Yeah, no, I agree. I really look forward actually to hearing what this all brings, this astrology for people, you know, kind of let us know what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's going to be, I would like to know stories. I mean, I know that people are already experiencing the Venus in Capricorn quite intensely. And also, I mean, it's hard to disentangle slightly because eclipses brought quite a few resolutions to serious problems, or at least the potential of the resolution happening at the end of January. There's quite a lot of stuff happening at the end of January. So I think that's also a thing to think, is that if you have like an issue at the moment, say, I don't know, court case or something, is that this may be delayed, you know, during this period. It may be delayed until the end of January when Venus goes direct. And even then you've got the Mercury that hasn't gone direct either. But that delay is not necessarily a bad thing at all. It's useful. You take advantage of the delay, you wait. And as we were saying before, it's like soft launch and then you're fixing things.
Yeah. I mean, once Mercury turns direct, which is actually February the 4th, then, you know, everything is opening up. So it's January itself that is going to be this kind of weird stop-start vibe. And I think, well, there'll be you'll have all the information you need probably at the beginning of February to really crack on with whatever's been going on for you.
Because I think that's the other thing we want to say, is that there's stuff that's hidden.
Yeah, there is.
You know, there may be things that you need to wait and find out before you actually make a decision. You know, I would also say try and delay. You know, if you're buying a house or something like that, try and just you know, make sure you know everything. You know, because there's something that may turn up.
Those turning points are January 29th, February the 4th. So it's the end of Jan, beginning of Feb, when the sort of knobs dials turn. And that's when you have all the information you need. So an interesting month, Christina.
Whoa, we got really, you know, dark and heavy in there, didn't we?
Well,
but that's appropriate for the time of year, I think.
It is.
So, Sally, what do you want in your Christmas stocking?
What do I want in the crowd? I want some peace and quiet in my Christmas stocking, actually. Just some calm. You know, peace and quiet and love and hope. I want all the sort of, you know, I don't want anything tangible or commercial. I just want all the lovely stuff to light, love, hope, faith. And you, Christina?
Dear Santa, please send Sally some love, hope, and faith in her Christmas stocking. You know, I'm so well, I want Jupiter and Pisces in my Christmas stocking.
You don't have long to wait after Christmas Day. It's a few days later he comes in, and then you can go, yay!
Exactly. There's so many. I feel at the moment there's so much work. You know, I have so many responsibilities and duties. Feeling quite burdened by that, actually. So I would like just something to be lifted.
Well, we'll wish Santa to bring you that too. And then hope everybody has a lovely time wherever you are. Just try and keep it peaceful and quiet, I think, in these quite tricky times that we're in. And
so Merry Christmas, and
Merry Christmas.
Listen out for our year ahead podcast.
Yes, which will be here by 2022, we promise. Take care then. See you next year. Bye.
Bye.